Choose.
The Djinn and the Secret of the Forgotten Lamp. Jaser was a poor engraver, living in a dilapidated room above the old coppersmith's market. His skilled hands could turn silent metal into masterpieces that pulsed with life, but his heart carried the weight of the world. He was in debt to a cruel merchant named Jaser, who had given him until the next day's sunset to repay his debt or lose his small workshop, which was all he owned in this world. On that day, while sifting through scrap copper pieces he had bought with his last remaining coins, his eyes fell upon an old oil lamp, covered in layers of rust and dust, but engraved with strange patterns he had never seen before. Jaser took it and began to clean it with a piece of cloth, hoping he might sell it for a few dirhams to help him in his plight. No sooner had he wiped the dust from the main engraving than the lamp vibrated violently in his hand, and a thick black smoke billowed from it, rising until it touched the ceiling of the room. It was no ordinary smoke, but it twisted and solidified. But what appeared before him was not a smiling genie offering wishes as in the tales. It was a colossal entity, made of shadows and rage, its eyes two glowing red embers that stared at him with an ancient hatred. The Djinn said in a deep voice like the roar of thunder, "You foolish mortal! You have broken the seal and awakened me from my slumber. You thought you would get a servant, but you have gotten a master. You are now my prisoner, and you will obey my commands until the last day of your miserable life." So, what is the dark secret of this angry Djinn? And how will Jaser survive this deadly predicament? Stay with us to discover how a single lamp can change a man's destiny forever. Jaser felt as if his heart would stop from sheer terror. He tried to flee, but shadows erupted from the Djinn and seized him like iron shackles. The Djinn said, "My name is Ramad, and I have been imprisoned in this metal vessel for 1,000 years. Now, you will help me reclaim what was stolen from me. Your first task: bring me the tear of the rock from the peak of the Blind Moon Mountain." The request was madness. The Blind Moon Mountain was a cursed place guarded by ghouls, and the rock was a mythical creature whose gaze alone was said to turn men to stone. Jaser refused, but the Djinn laughed a thunderous laugh, causing the workshop walls to crack and nearly collapse. Ramad said, "You have no choice. Either you bring me what I want, or I will turn this city to dust." Forced, Jaser set out on his impossible journey. After days of arduous travel, he reached the foot of the cursed mountain. He climbed the sharp rocks, avoided the deadly traps of the ghouls, and faced the icy winds that whistled like the breaths of the departed. Finally, he reached the summit, where the colossal nest of the rock was built from petrified tree branches. He did not find a bird, but a single, massive egg like a boulder, glowing with a pearlescent light. And beside it, he found a small, teardrop-shaped gem, shining with the same light. Jaser realized the truth. The tear of the rock was not a real tear, but a precious stone. As he reached out to take it, he heard the sound of enormous wings beating the air. The rock had returned. It was larger and more terrifying than he had imagined, and its eyes radiated a deadly energy. Jaser hid behind a rock, his heart pounding like war drums. He noticed something strange. The bird was looking at the egg with anxiety and making sorrowful sounds. The egg was cold, and the chick inside was weakening. In a moment of unparalleled courage, Jaser came out of his hiding place. He did not look into the bird's deadly eyes, but at the egg. He was an engraver, and he knew that some metals retain heat. He took a piece of copper from his bag, lit a small fire, and heated the metal until it was red-hot, then carefully placed it beside the egg to warm it. The rock stopped its hostile sounds and began to watch Jaser with astonishment. After hours of anticipation, the egg began to tremble, and a small crack appeared on its surface. Jaser had saved the life of the rock's young. The giant bird looked at Jaser with a look of deep gratitude, then nodded its head towards the tear of the rock, as if to say, "Take it, it is your reward." Jaser returned to the city and presented the gem to the Djinn, Ramad. The Djinn took it and swallowed it, and Jaser felt the Djinn's power increase. Ramad said, "Well done, slave. Your second task, bring me the echo of the moving forest." Jaser arrived at the edge of the forest to find a place pulsating with gloom and darkness. The trees were twisted and intertwined like tormented bodies, and there was no sound but the rustling of dead leaves. He remembered the Djinn's threat to destroy his city, so he gathered his courage and took his first step inside. As soon as he was inside, the trees moved behind him and sealed the entrance. He was a prisoner. He began to walk cautiously, and the branches moved around him like ghostly arms trying to grab him. He heard angry whispers coming from every direction, and swarms of bats with red eyes would suddenly fly in front of his face. Suddenly, he heard a deep roar that shook the ground. From between the trees, a giant black hound, the size of a horse, with eyes glowing with a green fury, charged towards him. Jaser ran with all his might, the beast chasing him, smashing small trees in its path. Jaser stumbled and fell, and at the moment the hound was about to clamp its jaws on him, he took out the small wooden flute he always carried and played a sad, desperate melody. The beast stopped in its tracks, tilting its head as if listening. And slowly, the frightening movement of the trees began to calm. The angry whispers ceased. Jaser continued to play, and suddenly, the trees in front of him began to retreat slowly, creating a glowing path that led to the heart of the forest. Jaser got up and walked down the illuminated path, the giant hound now walking calmly beside him like a guardian. He reached an old, hollow tree, and from within, the echo of an ancient song emanated. He captured the echo in a glass bottle and returned to the Djinn. Ramad said, "Well done. Your final task, bring me the shadow of the sunken fortress." Jaser arrived at a large lake in the middle of which sat a great, dilapidated fortress, half submerged under the water. Standing before the only bridge leading to it was a colossal, one-eyed giant, who was asleep. Jaser tried to sneak past, but the giant awoke and began to hurl massive rocks at him. After several failed attempts, Jaser waited until nightfall and the giant fell into a deep sleep. He found no way in except for a small water drain, so he entered through it and found himself inside the desolate fortress. He searched for the shadow everywhere to no avail. As he was walking through one of the dark halls, his eyes fell upon a huge wall mural, which had been disfigured by moisture and time. The painting depicted a beautiful woman with a sad smile. And since he was an engraver and an artist, he could not help himself. He forgot his mission and its danger, took out his simple tools, and spent long hours restoring the mural with all his love and passion. When he finished, and the mural had been restored to its original splendor, he heard the sound of weeping behind him. He turned to find the giant standing there, tears streaming from its single eye. The giant said in a broken voice, This is my wife. She drowned in the great flood that submerged the fortress 500 years ago. You have brought back her memory." Then the giant extended its hand, and its shadow separated from it and materialized in its hand. It said, "Take it. It is a gift from me to you." With each task, the Djinn's power grew, but something else was changing. The look of hatred in its eyes was softening slightly, and its thunderous voice was becoming more sorrowful. Finally, Ramad said, "You have completed your tasks, mortal. I have become strong enough to reclaim my greatest treasure." Your final and most dangerous mission, you will go to the Sultan's palace, and you will steal for me the Heart of Darkness. The Heart of Darkness was a black jewel that radiated immense power, and it was the source of the Sultan's strength and wisdom. Jaser realized that stealing it meant the destruction of the entire kingdom. Jaser said bravely, "No. I will not do it." The Djinn became enraged and said, "Do you forget that you are my slave? I will destroy you." Jaser said calmly, "I have understood your secret, Ramad. All the things you asked for. The rock's tear, the forest's echo, the fortress's shadow. They were not evil things, but things that held within them love, sorrow, and loyalty. You do not want power for revenge, but to heal an old wound in your soul. Tell me, what did the Sultan do to you?" A long silence ensued. Then, for the first time in 1,000 years, the black smoke transformed into a human shape, and the Djinn's true features appeared. He was a handsome young man with sad eyes. Ramad said in a broken voice, "I was a guard for the old Sultan. And I had a love more beautiful than the moon. But the Sultan desired her, and when she refused him, he accused me of treason and imprisoned me in this cursed lamp with the Heart of Darkness jewel. All I want is to destroy the jewel to free myself and avenge my lost love." Jaser realized he was caught between two duties. His duty to the Djinn who had suffered injustice, and his duty to his innocent kingdom. Jaser said, "Revenge will destroy the city, and it will not bring back your love. But there is another way." Jaser went to the current Sultan and told him the whole story. The Sultan was a just young man and was shocked by his grandfather's old crime. He ordered the lamp and the Heart of Darkness jewel to be brought to the throne room. The Sultan stood before the lamp and said, "In the name of the justice of this kingdom, I apologize for the injustice that was done to you. And I declare you free." Then, he placed the Heart of Darkness jewel on the lamp and read the incantation of freedom. The lamp glowed with a bright white light, and from it emerged Ramad, in his human form. He was no longer a slave, but a free man. He looked at Jaser with a look of deep gratitude, then turned into stardust and disappeared, going to search for the soul of his beloved in another world. As for Jaser, the Sultan rewarded him by appointing him as the chief engraver in the palace and absolving him of all his debts. And here, we reach the hub of the story and its wisdom. This story guides us to understand that injustice is not erased by a greater injustice, and that the fire of revenge is only extinguished by the water of forgiveness and justice. The Djinn Ramad was right in his anger, but his path would have led to the destruction of the innocent. The hidden gem of the story today is that compassion and understanding are the key to unlocking the most complex locks. Jaser did not try to defeat the Djinn with force, but tried to understand and heal its pain. And in doing good, he found his own salvation and the salvation of all. If you were in Jaser's place and the Djinn asked you to steal the Heart of Darkness, would you have done it to gain your freedom, or would you have risked everything for what is right? Share your thoughts in the comments. We want to thank you, our dear followers, for joining us on this journey. Don't forget to subscribe to The Alchemist's Tales to discover a new depth in our next tale.